Wow, that looks fantastic. Guys, that looks absolutely fantastic. We brought that paint back to its original glory. This is beautiful. All right, here we are with the finished product. Look at that shine. We did a compound with a little more cut and a more cutting pad to start, more aggressive pad. And then we went to a polishing pad, a lighter polishing compound. And that came out absolutely fantastic. So now we're gonna go hit the trunk. All right, here we are at the trunk. You can see it doesn't look too bad. Just have some, I don't know if you can see some like lighter and darker areas. You know, it's not super shiny. It's got good paint though. So we just want to bring this. I need to wipe that off before I start. That's just some dust from the garage. This has already been clay barred, washed and clay barred. But we want to bring this paint back and make it pop. And we'll start with, here's the first pad I used on the hood. And then there's the second pad. This is more aggressive, you know, harder foam. And this is much softer for polishing. Dust off of it. See that dust from the shop because this has already been washed in clay bar. This is just dust from the shop that settled on it. Go ahead and wipe that off. All right, now we have our finishing pad and our finishing compound. Look at that, you guys. Fantastic. That's 40-year-old paint. Can you believe that? Little spot right there. It looks like a little spot right there. There we go. Let's go back and look at that hood. Holy cow. Look at that. So that took an hour and a half or so. Now we got to do the rest of the car. We're going to make it absolutely perfect. And I just installed the hood pad. Looks fantastic. And the correct glue to use for this is the 3M Super Trim adhesive. This stuff works outstanding and that hood pad is never coming off. Guys, here we are doing some touch up on the 240D. And it's very common when you open the door on this B-pillar. You have this B-pillar trim that goes down there. And it's very common, you'll see the trim goes down and then you'll see it's ripped, exposing that inner piping. I have several NOS B-pillar trims for the Mercedes, and what you do, you take off the B-pillar seatbelt cover. Let me show it from the back. There you go. So there's actually two screws. you can see over there, see the bottom trim piece? That trim piece is held on with 2 screws, and then you can pop this cover. Let me back up. There you go. You can pop this cover loose, and you'll see this piping is just glued in there. It's just sticky tape. And so what you can do, if you can find some NOS B-pillar trim pieces, all you do is pop that off and you peel. There's the old one right there. You just peel it off and it peels off the B-pillar. And then you can see I've reattached a new piece. And man, that makes the world of difference. Putting it back to factory original. I need to clean up in here in the door panel area, but doesn't that look nice when that piping is all correct like that? And the windlace is all in one piece. You can't get the windlace anymore, so I really try hard to find cars where the windlace is in original untorn condition, all in one piece. Doesn't that look beautiful? So I'm going to go ahead and reattach the seatbelt cover here. There we go. Beautiful. Those are the little things. To get these cars back to factory original, you have to take care of little stuff like that. Makes the world of difference. All right, guys, what I want to show you now is a product called Sim Prep. Now, this is like an abrasive soap, and it's normally used for if you're going to paint vinyl or paint vinyl. Then this is your first stage. You clean it with this abrasive soap. However, it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be used for painting. You can use it just to clean vinyl in general. And let me show you how this works. So on this seat, there we go. So I've cleaned the spot like here, but you see the dirt and wear right there. Let me show you how this stuff works. So you put a little bit on a rag. It's like a goopy substance, and it's like ever so slightly abrasive. But then you just rub it in. And then you take a damp rag and you just wipe it off there. So look at that spot we just did. Here's kind of another dirty spot right here. Let me show you. Put a little bit of this stuff on there. Then we need a damp rag. You just wipe it away. See how clean that gets it? I don't know if you guys can see that too well on camera. Here's another common spot. There you go. That's the bolster when you get in the car. See how dirty that bolster is right there? So I just kind of got that one spot there. There's a little more I can get right here. And they even say you can use a mild scuff pad. There you go. Look how good that stuff works. Look how clean that is now. I'll probably do a little bit more work right there, but this stuff is outstanding for cleaning vinyl, or AKA MB Tex. All right, this is a beautiful dash, and we want to clean it with the Sim soap. Cleaning a section. All right, guys, it has been cleaned and it is dry. And look at the finish. See how it's super clean and it pops? It looks like it's brand new again. You got to clean it with Sim soap, and this stuff works great. And there we go, guys. That's what a dash looks like after you've cleaned it with Sim soap. Brings back that factory brand new look. Looks fantastic. That stuff works great. So the next thing I want to do is get these buttons out of here, and I have some NOS Mercedes window switches because the stickers have worn away. I'm sure you can get these little stickers to replace those, but I have some NOS switches, so, and the stickers look brand new on them, so I'm going to swap those out. Let's go ahead, pop out this center console and get those switches replaced. Just take the ashtray out first and then remove these screws in here, and then you can pull this little contraption out of here, and you have to unplug right here. You have to unplug, I think that's the cigarette lighter, so let me stop recording and unplug that. Okay, so after you have that unplugged, to have the ashtray and the ashtray mounting assembly removed, and then this just slides back. There we go. And you can pop this up. Now you got to be careful because you don't want to damage this wood, but you can pull it up and just get underneath there to start disconnecting the switches. All right, once you get the switches disconnected, then you have your piece of wood with your window switches, so you can change the switches out. All right, so we have our wood center console here. I'm going to start by just cleaning it up. Well, first let's take these switches out. So the switches, if you flip it over, there's some little tabs. See if you can see this. There you go. There's little tabs that you press in. Let's see if I can get this one. You press the tab in and the switch comes out from the top. And then you press the tab in here. Here we go. And there's one switch. So we want to replace that switch. Actually, if I look back here, here is my NOS switch. I actually want that right there. So good thing is these switches are all rebuildable. So I want to keep the original switch in here because it works great. And I'm just going to rob, there we go, this good button. Also, we're going to clean this switch out real good with Deox. See, it's grimy down in there. Guys, if you've never used this stuff, get it. It's amazing. If the components are still good, here, I'm going to do this over here. This will lubricate them and clean them up really good. There we go. There's one. There's two, and we're going to see if this switch will fit down in here. Ah, it will, and it works perfect. They just changed that little BB design. So this is our original 240D switch, and I just grabbed the button from a later, I think this was from a 300D or 300CD, and I robbed the good button off of it so we have a label. So let's clean this guy up, and I also want to spray some deox down into this rear one. Guys, this is the extent we go to here when restoring these cars. Taking apart switches. All right, let me clean this one out. All right, that's nice and cleaned out. Let's put this switch back down into here. And just move it around a lot to get some of that deox to soak in there. I actually want to go hook this up in the car and make sure this works okay before we go through the trouble of putting it back into the wood assembly. Alright, I just temporarily plugged our switch in here. Alright, that does the rear window. Perfect. So that actually works, and we have a good sticker on the button again. All that just for that. Okay, so here's the switch we just tested. That's good. Now I want to change that button there. Like I said, I'm sure I could order decals online, but I have all the switches here in the shop, so I as well just use what I've got on hand. Alright, let's see if we can get this guy out of here without damaging anything. Alright, and this, while we clean these up, you can see it's crusty. It's like gunk and debris and all that stuff from 40 years of people dropping stuff in the center console. So, let's pop this button out. And there's grease down in there. So, I'm going to pop those switches back out and put a dab of grease down there. Put a dab of grease down there because the deox probably gets rid of that grease. All right, that's good and cleaned out there. There we go. Get a little bit for this one. Here we go. I just want to brush along there to clean that up a little bit. It's got some dirt and grime in there. There we go. And let's go ahead and pop out this rear one and clean it. There we go. That's how they had it from the factory right there. Man, that feels brand new. Just a little dab. That's it. There we go. Now it's clicking back better. Just had some dirt in there. All right. Next, I want to go ahead and clean up this wood a little bit. And I want to spray some deox into these switches. Although they're working fine, I just want to clean that up a little bit. See, it's got some dirt on it. The best way to clean this stuff is just with a little rubbing alcohol. Just gets any kind of dirt and grime off of here very easily, and it's not abrasive or harmful. Nice. First thing we want to do, of course, is spray some deoxin here. I'm going to move it out of the camera and hold it over the floor here. And then let's clean up that wheel. You know, all the junk coming out of there. Now that the deox is in there, we'll just work it back and forth. There we go. That looks way better. See, all that dirt is now removed. Much better. So this one goes in the back and the hazard goes in the front. That's just a note to me when I pop them all out and forget which way they forget which one of these goes back in which spot. It's very delicate because you do not want to break these tabs off. That's what holds everything in there. And we're going to do the same for this hazard because it is filthy. Man, that's dirty. And we'll clean this switch off. There we go. Deox tastes good. All right, let's get this thing back together. Perfect. We have cleaned up switches and hazard and fader. So we'll get those all back in here and get this back in the car. All right, guys, this is a method that I just came up with myself for restoring that brilliant glossy finish to your wood trim. Now, this only works if your wood trim, if the current finish is not extremely damaged and extremely cracked. First thing you want to do, you want to sand it down just a little bit and coat it just with a brush with a polyurethane. I use Minwax fast drying polyurethane. This is much better than the old school nitrocellulose lacquer. That's the lacquer. They used to use that on like Gibson guitars, on old gold tops, 1957 gold tops. And if you look at any of those guitars, you'll see the cracking all over the finish. That's what that stuff does. It cracks. So if it's not horribly cracked, you can go ahead and paint over it with polyurethane. Now, once you've done it by hand, you need to sand it down with some 320 grit sandpaper, and that levels it all off. Because when you first paint over it, the existing cracks or any imperfections will not make a smooth finish. So once you let that dry for about 24 to 48 hours, you go back and hit it with 320. And this one has been sanded down. You can see it's dull now because I knocked off that, I smoothed out and flattened that layer of polyurethane I put on there. Now for the final application, you're going to need like a, turkey baster pan, I guess, just a aluminum pan. And I'm going to put about a gallon and a half of polyurethane. It's a little expensive, it's about 60, 70 bucks to correctly refinish this. So the more pieces you have, the better. So I'm going to pour that polyurethane in there, and then we're actually going to take this and dip it and pull it out and then set it down. And that will give a perfectly even coat all over our wood trim. And then we'll just set it there. You notice I have it perfectly level. This little Gorilla Tape makes it perfectly level. Now that's going to get some polyurethane on the back, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's any on the back. Who cares? That's underneath your shifter. That's covered up. But that way it's going to give a very smooth, very flat coating, and the polyurethane will all relax at the same time and disperse. Now it's going to drip off the edges, and you can clean that up later. But this gives the smoothest, best finish. It'll be like a glass surface finish and be restored back to original. And this polyurethane is much better than that nitrocellulose lacquer that they used. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to do that right now. Guys, this is kind of the best angle you're going to get. I know it's kind of far away, but I'm going to carry this over here, dip it, and then carry back, and it's going to sit there for 24 hours. You also want to make sure to see that I've got the shop hot. I've got this heater over here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's off camera. Yeah, there it is. The shop is warm, and the polyurethane has been stored in the house. So everything's warm. You don't want to do this in freezing temperatures. I want the bubbles out of the way. So we're going to move those over to the side, and a lot of them are going to pop. We're just going to give it a minute because we want a crystal clear vat of polyurethane to dip our piece in. And I'm going to drip polyurethane all over as I go back to the bench, but we're just going to go down. And dip. Now I'm going to go ahead and dip that back side. It wasn't quite deep enough. There we go. Now we're going to bring it over here. And it's just going to sit here, guys, and level. And you do not touch anything. Just let it do its thing. And that's going to give us a perfect original factory finish. So I didn't quite have it deep enough. Did you see how the back end didn't fully submerge? So I had to turn it over. I needed like another centimeter. I just gauged it wrong. But anyway, you see how I just flipped it over and dipped to the back end once I covered the front. And guys, we are not going to touch that. And that is going to give a perfectly smooth and level finish. The polyurethane, you can see it starting to level out. You let gravity do its work, and it'll slowly level out to like a tabletop. You can see right there, so it's starting to creep over. And that will be a perfectly smooth, original finish. So trick is, do not touch it. Let it sit, no matter what. If you touch any part of it, you're going to mess it up. So we'll let that sit, and we'll come back and look tomorrow. You just pour it back in. And there you go, guys. Perfectly restored center console trim. Got the brand new switches, the fresh new gloss coat to make it look factory, factory original. All the switches have been cleaned. New labels on the window switches. That is a perfect, correct factory restoration. Anyway, guys, that's how you do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. You guys have seen me do this on several cars and in other videos, but the next thing we want to tackle on the 240D is, you see where the little rubber piece has deteriorated and fallen out right here? Well, what happens is that keeps the door from shutting correctly. You have to, see, you have to slam it to get it to shut. So what we're going to do is just pop off this striker, and then I have some little rubber pieces. A guy in Thailand is remanufacturing them, and I ordered a bunch of them. And I'm going to replace that rubber piece so the door will shut correctly. And look, the passengers is fully intact. So that's good. See how that door shuts easy? That's what that little piece allows. What happens is that little bump right there hits the lock mechanism like a millisecond before the door shuts and kicks that back. And when that's missing, it can't do that, so you have to slam it. See, that shuts